Coming to you from the Black Goat 39 studios, this is the Guru Talking Sports Podcast, episode 109. Now here's your host, the Guru of Sports. Hello, sports fans, and welcome. Welcome to episode 109 of the Guru Talking Sports Podcast. I am your host, the Guru of Sports. Now, if you can hear that in the background, what it is John Coltrane. It's called Resolution from one of the greatest jazz albums of all time, A Love Supreme by John Coltrane. Okay, I am going to be talking all that jazz a little bit later, but I want to make sure that I get to you guys, and I want to say that this is Easter weekend, and we are very, very, I am very honored right now to have two people. One person on FaceTime, and I have one person in the studio with me today. I want to say hello to Caden Guru and to Dante Guru. You guys, first of all, I want to say thank you and welcome, and give you the claps here.
Thank you.
All right, now, Dante Guru, how are you doing?
I'm doing good, Guru. Glad to be back. How about yourself, man?
I am great. Every time that I can spend time with you guys, I am very, very good. Caden Guru, how are you doing?
I'm fantastic. That Sixers game, they beat the Raptors. Tyrese Maxey, 38 points. So I'm doing really well.
All right, well, we're going to have to talk about them and, for a little bit, because we all know what's going to happen to them down the stretch. So, you guys, I wanted to tell you guys that I really appreciate you guys coming in. I was supposed to have a young lady, Miss Jody, because we were supposed to do the Chubby Bunny challenge, which we're going to have to postpone until next year because of a couple things happened, and we've been running around all day. Me and Kate and Guru have been running around, and we were went down and seen Grandma Guru. Is that who gets called a Grandma Guru? And Dante got a chance to talk to Grandma Guru, and how was it that you guys feel about this weekend, Easter weekend and everything?
It's very important.
Very important. All right. How about you, Dante? What do you think of Easter weekend?
This is getting up there in age, so this is another Easter weekend. It's a very important weekend, like Kate Group said, but also it's great that you can just touch base with family. Sometimes, through life's ups and downs, just your daily routine of going to work, having fun on the weekends, things along that nature. You forget sometimes to sit down and just have a conversation with your family. So it's always great to get a chance to stop for a second and, just get a chance to talk to someone that you haven't talked to in a while. Maybe you haven't seen your mom, your aunt, or something like that, and you haven't talked to them in a while. So it's great that we get a chance to slow down and get a chance to speak to everyone and see people we haven't seen in a while.
That's it. And my thing is that I'm, more family guy now, and, just try to make sure that, going to work and taking care of things and making sure that, I do the right thing and make sure that family's taken care of, which is a big thing. I usually, like this week I traveled a lot and had a chance to, just get a chance to, think about how important work is and how important family is as well. So I just wanted to say that I'm glad that I'm here and I'm able to have my two main guys with me, and I really appreciate you guys for coming in. All right, now on the podcast today, we're going to have it in two sections. We're going to take a break after the first half. First part of the podcast, we're going to talk about baseball in general. What happened a couple days ago with Clayton Kershaw. And this is only, the first week of the Major League Baseball season. But, we had a situation where a guy was pitching a perfect game and he got pulled after 7 innings. We're going to talk about that. We're going to get into that. Jackie Robinson Day. I'm going to, my thoughts on Jackie Robinson Day and how important that day is. Now, we just had the USFL finish up, and the first game, the Birmingham Stallions beat the New Jersey Generals, and we're going to talk a little bit about that, and I'm going to give you guys your opinions on that. Excuse me. Guru get choked up sometimes when he think about these things, but also. In the second half, we're going to talk about the NBA playoffs, and unfortunately, we have taps. We have two people, a famous hockey player we got to talk about, and a comedian we're going to have to talk about. And my series on jazz continues, and we're going to be talking all that jazz about Sonny Rollins, Dexter Gordon, and John Coltrane. Now, I'm probably not going to play any clips from it, music clips, but what I want you guys to do is take in consideration what I tell you guys, because these three guys are giants in their own perspective. And this is a great, great series that I get a chance to present to you guys because, a lot of people don't know a little bit about jazz. I'm still learning about jazz, which is one of the good things about me because I like to learn stuff. And, if I can learn stuff every single day of the year, it makes me better. And I'm going to ask Dante and Caden their opinions on jazz as well. And, like I said, me and Dante and Caden were talking before we started the podcast. And John Coltrane, Dante knows that I'm a big, big fan of John Coltrane. Okay, so let's get to what we got to talk about on this episode here. And we're going to start off with Clayton Kershaw. Now, the big, big story was he had a perfect game going into the 7th inning. Now, why did Dave Roberts, the manager of the Los Angeles Dodgers, pull him after 7 innings? Now, I want to ask you, Dante, why do you think he pulled him after 7 innings?
Personally, I thought it was the correct decision to do. I know a lot of people in baseball are on the end of like, well, if he's got a perfect game, there's such a rare situation, you always take the risk. But you got to remember last year, he was really banged up. He didn't finish the season, didn't really help. He didn't, I think he might have pitched 1 or 2 games in the postseason, I'm not sure. But he didn't pitch enough in the postseason, didn't help his team in the pursuit of another championship. And that hurt the Dodgers. And for the most part, the Dodgers came out and said, hey, we're here and we're trying to win a World Series. And if that means we keep him, we try to do the best to keep him healthy throughout the 162 games. Obviously he won't play in all of them. He might hopefully he might make around 30 starts this year. But the key thing is keeping Kershaw healthy. When he's healthy, he's a fantastic pitcher. Obviously, he had a perfect game before he got pulled, but he's a great pitcher. He's going to be the reason why. He's going to be one of the reasons why the Dodgers are going to be a World Series contender here, and it's all about keeping him healthy. Last year he was hurt, they fell just short of making it to the World Series. The Braves ended up beating them, and then winning the World Series. So it's got to stink. So for them, it's the bigger picture, and I understand that sometimes you just want this to happen. Perfect games are so rare; they happen. They rarely happen. But I think it was the right decision. I think moving forward, if it happens again, they should keep doing it. Screw the record book, screw the rules, all these unspoken rules, whatever. Win a World Series. That's the most important thing. And the only way they're going to do it is if Kershaw is healthy, and he has to stay healthy. I think a few seasons, he's been. I think the season before he only pitched like a few games as well. He didn't pitch a lot that season either. So he has to stay healthy, and doing whatever you can to keep him healthy is more important than perfect games.
That's it. That's exactly right. What do you think, Caden Guru? Do you think that was a good decision by Dave Roberts?
Well, there's two different perspectives. There's a fan perspective and wanting to see him obviously pitch a perfect game, and then the manager's perspective, and he's trying to just keep his player healthy and fresh and not fatigued, because it is a long, grueling 162 games. But I feel like it's he really doesn't care what the media says about it, because it's his player and it's his team, and he's trying to win another World Series. So I really think it just doesn't matter. It comes down to just the minutes, honestly.
Yeah, and it was the right decision. And I think that we got to look at it this way. Baseball has changed. But see, another thing too is that there's the National League now has a designated hitter. So he doesn't have to bat in that situation where when he gets up, he has to bat. He doesn't have to bat anymore. And the guy's 34 years old, and he's been banged up like Dante said, and he's he wasn't the stellar pitcher that he was. So, that was a good decision. You can't blame the manager in this situation also, because you got to remember one thing. They just came off a lockout. Now, if you want to blame somebody, you blame the owners, and you blame Major League Baseball for the lockout. Because another thing too is that they didn't have a full spring training. Now, you guys got to remember one thing. Spring training is really, not really for hitters. It's for pitchers to get in the rhythm, to get their arms loose, to be able to, go out there and throw the innings that they have to throw. But you guys are totally right, and I believe the same thing. I think that Dave Roberts made the right decision, because another thing too, you don't win World Series in April.
Yeah.
You don't win a World Series in April. You win a World Series in October, and you want to make sure. What happens if he would have pitched 120 pitches and blew his arm out? And then what do? He's done for the year, right?
And then you blame Dave Roberts for not taking him out. And again, he's just in a no-win position. But I think for us, the fans that understand what he's trying to do, he did the right thing. And I personally, like I said, if there's any criticism, it falls to deaf ears with me, because again, they won the game. That's the important thing. They won the game, and they got him out healthy.
Yeah, And you guys are totally right on that, because I believe that, if he would have went to, he said that, he wanted to go about 85 pitches or so. So he did go around the 85 pitch mark. So, I think that was a good decision. He needed to get out there. And the bullpen, did their job. They won the game anyway. So, it's a win-win situation. And, like I said, I know baseball. I've been, part of baseball most of my life and all. I tell the story about the failed baseball attempt. But anyway, I look at it this way. It was a good decision. I'm glad Clayton Kershaw is not hurt. I'm glad that he got 7 innings of good, pitching in. And, they won the game. So, on that case closed, Dave Roberts wins that battle. So, okay, now, yesterday was Jackie Robinson Day in baseball. Jackie Robinson, to me, is the guy that I remember sitting on the porch with my father and my grandfather, and they used to tell stories about Jackie Robinson. But I want you guys to know something. Baseball was not Jackie Robinson's main sport. He was a great football player. He was a great basketball player as well. He went to UCLA and then he went into the military. But another thing, too, is that when he played in the Negro Leagues with the Kansas City Monarchs, he was good there, too. And it took a person, it took a strong person a lot to go through what he went through. My thing is that I remember Jackie Robinson, when I was younger. I didn't get a chance to see him play. I never got a chance to see him play because he played in Brooklyn and he never played in Los Angeles. But I remember that when he passed away, it was a sad time. And, it seemed like everybody that I knew felt really, really sad about Jackie Robinson when he passed. Because we had lost a great ambassador to civil rights, and we lost a great ambassador to giving us an opportunity to play in the major leagues. And Jackie Robinson will always be remembered as a great humanitarian. And, my thoughts is, Jackie Robinson was a great person and a great humanitarian. Caden Guru, what are your thoughts about Jackie Robinson that you remember? Or that, I know that you was just born in this century, so you don't know that too much about Jackie Robinson, but what are your thoughts on Jackie Robinson?
He's an icon. He's a activist. He's a hero, a legend. He's an icon. I recently watched 42 in my history of sports class, and that movie showed the discrimination and the racism he had to go through just to play the game he loved, and that makes it, just depicts like how strong of a person he was, and how what he had to go through just to play a game, So yeah, I think he's definitely on that Mount Rushmore of athletes. So yeah,
I agree because I cannot think of any other athlete that has more impact than Jackie Robinson. What are your thoughts on Jackie Robinson, Dante?
Yeah, I think I kind of agree with you as far as his impact, because we hear the stories and things like that, and you got to remember too, a lot of times we hear the stories, we don't get the full story. So when they talk about the things he might have went through, it's probably times 10 of what we were told or what we possibly know. He's definitely a pioneer of the game. He was never, like you said, he played earlier in the Negro Leagues for a few years. And when he came to the league, he wasn't a slouch. He wasn't a bad player. He was a very good player. And I think he won an MVP, won a World Series. So he stepped it up, and he provided a bridge to other players for them to get into the league. Some of these great Negro League players that ended up coming to the league. I think one of is Satchel Paige, and how amazing he was, and among others. I think a lot of times too that a lot of people forget is that this wasn't as long as people think it was. This wasn't a very long time ago. I think he retired in like 56 or something like that.
Yeah.
And 56 is 66 years ago. And when you say that out loud, you say, well, that's not that. That's a long time. But then you got to realize too, you 66-year-olds. You know a lot of people that are over 60 plus years. And you think about that, you're like, wow. So there's people that were alive when this man had just finished his career. Think about it. It was a very long time. I think he jumped into the majors in 45, 47 or something like
47, yeah.
So you think about it, there's people alive who were around when this happened. There was, like I said, this guy was, he helped integrate baseball, and people were alive. So this wasn't a very long time ago. So I think that's one of the things when we think about Jackie Robinson, we have to remember is it wasn't as long as we think it is. It wasn't just this time where everything was just different. No, this was a few generations ago where your grandma was, your grandma might have watched or heard about Jackie Robinson. You might have people whose parents were alive when they heard about Jackie Robinson and heard him integrate baseball and how important that was for all sports, not just his sport, but all sports. And, led to guys like Jim Brown. He was probably the greatest running back ever. And he helped bridge that gap as well for football. And, but Jackie Robinson was the guy when he made that leap for baseball, which I believe was, like at that point in America's history, was the biggest sport in America, I believe. So Jackie Robinson is a pioneer. He's still remembered today for the sacrifice that he made by, going out there, making the jump to the majors, going town to town, dealing with all the racism and the things of that nature. He's a pioneer for that. We appreciate him. We thank his service and sacrifice to this day.
Yeah. It's he broke into Major League 75 years ago. And that was, just think about how things were 75 years ago. And, it's just weird because, we all have a bit of, we have to give him that credit, and we all have to give him a bit of gratitude for, standing up and doing what he did, and, I watched 42. I've watched a couple other documentaries about his life and who he was, and I thought that he was just amazing. And, he died a young man, too. He died in 71, and I think that was like the time when Ray Guru and Uncle Titus, you guys' Uncle Titus was born. And it was, like I said, it was a time where everybody was like really, really upset because, we felt as though we lost a pioneer. And, when we think of Jackie Robinson, we think of, I think of him stealing home. I think of, like I said, when I think of Jackie Robinson, I think of him opening the door for Monty Irvin, for Satchel Paige, for Hank Aaron, Willie Mays, Ernie Banks, all these guys that came after Jackie Robinson. Larry Doby was the first African American to play in the American League. Jackie was the first in the National League. So, we got to really, really think about these guys. And like, I listened to this podcast called Black Diamonds, and it's about the Negro Leagues and everything. And, not to, go on and on and on, but the thing about it is that it teaches me a lot about the game of baseball and some of the stars that wasn't able to get to the major leagues. And like I said, there's a lot of guys that are in the Hall of Fame from the Negro Leagues that never got a chance. And Jackie got that chance, and he just opened up the door. And I meant to tell you guys, one of the guys that I got a chance to meet years ago, and he was a really, really good, really nice guy. And I got a chance to interview him and speak to him and, get to know him a little bit, was Don Newcomb. Don Newcomb played for the Newark Eagles in the Negro Leagues. And then he ended up coming up and playing with Jackie Robinson on the Brooklyn Dodgers. And Don Newcomb was an icon to me. He was really, really good. Really nice guy. I got an autograph and I got his baseball card that I always will cherish because Don Newcomb was really, just a special guy. And like I said, when Jackie Robinson came, it opened the door for a lot of guys. So we gotta, every Jackie Robinson day, I usually break out my Brooklyn Dodgers hat, and I usually wear that, and I usually always try to, wear my Jackie Robinson jersey. And 42 is always going to be a special number, around for me as well. So, you guys, like I said, even if you get a 42, I'll put it, write a 42 on your, every April 15th, get a chance, just make sure that you, stop and thank Jackie Robinson for that day. Okay, guys, we're going to take a little break. We're going to come back and we're going to talk about USFL, and then we're going to go into the second half and go ahead and talk about the NBA playoffs. Okay, we'll take a break right here. This is the Guru Talking Sports Podcast, episode 109. We'll be right back in just a second. All right, we're back. Episode 109 of the Guru Talking Sports Podcast. I got a question for you guys. Are you guys into this USFL thing?
Something's off about it.
What's off about it? Tell me.
It's just lacking, it's just lacking something. I don't know how to describe it.
Yeah. Well, I want to ask you, Dante. Do you think this league is going to last?
So I think all the leagues, if they can get a target audience, but I have a theory on why these leagues never do as well as people think they do. They should. I think it's because Americans put so much into football season that football season 2 just doesn't correlate. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So you put so much into travel and watching games and all that stuff for 30 weeks, or however long you would consider the football season is, and then you have to do it over again in the spring. It's just too much, So I think that's the reason why there isn't that much interest. Like if it's in the fall, I think everyone in the fall is like, okay, yeah, it's football season. In the spring, it's baseball season, and then in the summer, it's the end of basketball season. So you have all that time where you have that the spring is baseball, basketball ends in the summer, and then we get football. So then having like a random football season in the spring just seems kind of strange when you're like just got over football season from the year, from the past few months ago. So yeah. I don't know. That's my theory on it. It might be a little long, but that's what I think it is.
I feel like the NFL and its brand has put so much into like the game of football that it's like just overshadowed by these other leagues, and like they're taking so much like out of these leagues that no one wants to watch them or like put effort into them. Because like what Dante said about the spring, it's like it's baseball season and it's basketball season. Like no one wants to watch like football in that like time frame.
Well, the thing is that this baseball has basically kind of killed itself, and I'm surprised that a lot of people are not really flocking to these football leagues, because like you said, yeah, baseball is during the spring and the summer, but I think football is basically our American pastime now, and that's baseball is just basically killing itself. But then like I said, with the AFL or what was it, American Alliance of Football, AF.
No clue. No
AAF, that's what it was.
XFL.
I got no clue.
Yeah, and then they had the XFL, and now we got the USFL, and I don't know.
The XFL in the like early 2000s was so different from like the modern day XFL or like any other leagues.
Yeah, well, I like the old XFL because remember they used to have the nicknames on the back.
Yeah.
I still think that He Hate Me is like the best nickname of all time. Rod Smart, and I friended him on Facebook, and he's a really nice guy. I like him, but that was the best freaking nickname. He Hate Me. It's like who could? I mean, He Hate Me. Oh my gosh. I don't know. It's just crazy, but like I said, it's just these leagues. I don't know. They're just popping up now, and like you said, it's not going to really overtake baseball because a lot of people are still watching baseball, even though baseball has been trying to kill itself off. And like you said, football is just the NFL is just a bigger brand to where people are just not really flocking to this, and it's just weird because it's like, hey, you know what? The NFL still has, when, like now it's a little bit quiet. A couple weeks ago, there were all kinds of stuff jumping off in the NFL.
Yeah.
Tyreek Hill, Devontae Adams, and just the other day, our guy Carr just got a signed extension, and that brings a lot more attention to the average fan and NFL fan. Now, this league could do okay, but it could slip under the radar.
With NFL offseason, like the NFL still has a brand around like full time because you have like podcasts and you have like Sports Center, ESPN, always talking about like the NFL offseason and the moves and like how this team's going to do next season. That's always going to be there with like the NFL.
Yeah.
That's why it's so like interesting for fans.
And another thing too, we're 2 weeks away from the NFL draft too.
Right.
So
I want to point.
Go ahead.
The draft, right? So these leagues are disconnected from the NFL. So there's no incentive to watch it. There's so you might I think one of the leagues had PJ Walker, the quarterback.
Yeah.
He was in one of those leagues and he ended up transitioning to the NFL. But that's I think it was maybe him and another guy came from that league and went to the NFL. This isn't like a minor league system. This is like its own standalone thing. It's a lot different if it were like a minor league thing where these guys have a chance to go play for the NFL teams, but they have no shot. Or they have a shot, maybe they get a call in or a tryout or something like that. But even the better players on these teams are probably not even going to be camp bodies. So there's no real incentive for us to watch it outside of it just being football, and it not even be the football. It's lesser football. It might be a little bit better than college.
Yeah. Well, I was going to say I did see something on that we was watching the Birmingham and New Jersey. We did see a guy get clotheslined, right?
Yeah.
Yes. I mean that was like the only action I've seen in it, and
But was it a flag? Was it a penalty?
No, it wasn't no flag either. It was weird. It wasn't no flag.
I'm pretty sure all these leagues have like player safety rules and stuff like that. So they have player safety rules for a league, and then like XFL, because you remember the old XFL, those guys were out there just beating each other up.
I know.
It was literally there was supposed to be no rules. That's why it was so entertaining.
I know.
The thing about these leagues is they have no atmosphere. Like they don't have the game day atmosphere that college football has on Saturdays. They don't have the NFL like on Sunday, like waking up and like watching football. Like they don't have that.
There's no tradition.
Yeah.
No tailgating, nothing like that. And it's like when you wake up in the morning. A Sunday morning, I'll put on, a Raider jersey or Jaguar jersey and say, hey, you know what? They're going to play today, and you get that feel of it. It's no feel for this. So I just hope, it kind of survives. But then again, I don't know. Like I said, I was rooting for the Birmingham Iron and the AAF?
Yeah.
Like I said, I was getting into it. I was getting ready to buy a jersey and a T-shirt.
Oh, yeah,
and next thing you know, they were gone.
The fan control league, though, that's another like league that has some type of like survival because they had Terrell Owens and Johnny Manziel. They were like Johnny Manziel was throwing to Terrell Owens.
Oh, jeez.
And it's like a league controlled by the fans.
But ain't he 48?
Yeah.
He's 48. How the hell is he still playing?
Got it, man.
Yeah. Hey, if you retired at 48, you could just relax, right? But he still want to go out there. And he was saying something about, hey, an NFL team should give him a call. I just hope he don't come back and ruin the Jaguars. Hell, they went through a whole lot of mess. So, all right. So I guess we're at the end of this half, and we're gonna come back in a few, and we're gonna talk some NBA. I know you got a lot of stuff to talk,
yeah.
and we have between the three of us, we have a bet going. So we'll talk to you about that bet, and you guys just hang tight. We'll be right back with the second half of episode 109 of the Guru Talkin Sports podcast. You guys hold tight. We'll be right back in just a few. All right, guys, we're back. Second half, final half, and we're going to be talking about the NBA playoffs right now. Okay, now I'm going to go through the matchups, and I want to give you guys make the prediction. Okay, then we're going to talk about this bet that we have. Matter of fact, Dante, are you okay with me putting up that $100 for you?
Okay. Yeah, sure.
Okay. All right. Now, the first one is Denver Golden State. Golden State blew out them today, and they had no chance.
Jokic did not shoot good.
Jokic didn't look good at all. I still think he's going to be the MVP. So, in this series, I think Golden State's going to have no problem with winning it. All right, Dante, what do you think? Golden State?
I agree. Maybe it can get a little bit better, but I just don't see it happening. Is my boy coming back? Murray, he's not coming back, is he?
No, he
so.
still has that torn ACL. He torn it last year, and he's still recovering from it. So
yeah, if Jamal Murray doesn't come back, like I said, I haven't heard any news. Maybe, like I said, he might play. He might play in the series. I don't know, but as of right now, I'm going with the Warriors. Maybe he comes back and make the series a little bit more interesting, but I don't know. I think the Warriors are just too much.
Yeah. What do you think, Kate?
I got the Warriors in 5. The Warriors bench looked pretty good tonight.
Yeah,
Jordan Poole looked really good.
Jordan,
tonight.
I gotta agree. 30 points for Jordan Poole tonight. He looked amazing. So and Curry didn't shoot that good at all.
No, Klay Thompson stepped in really good, and then Draymond Green is the anchor for that team.
Yeah,
and they're all healthy. So
defensive anchor. Yeah. All right. So I guess we all agree on Golden State and that. Utah and Dallas. I don't think Dallas has a chance because I don't think Luka is not right. He's not right. So I mean, this is like you said before, Arcade. This is a boring series. This is going to be a very, very boring series. So I don't know. I think Utah can win it. What do you think, Caden?
I think Utah. I think Donovan Mitchell's gonna have a good series, but I feel like if Luka doesn't come back in time, there's just gonna be like no, because there's Chris Tapps is not really stopping Rudy Gobert like that.
Yeah. Dante, what do you think on that series?
I think Dallas is going to win because Luka's going to definitely come back. He's going to play. They're going to do everything they can to get him to play. And I don't think the Jazz are good. I don't think they're a good basketball team. I really don't. I think that they have a lot of internal problems. I think they might be looking to blow it up in the offseason, or maybe this offseason next. I don't think this Utah Jazz is a good team. I think if Luka comes back, they barely beat him today. They barely beat him today without Luka. If they get Luka back, they're in a world of trouble. So if Luka plays game 3, game 4, they're in a world of trouble. So I'm gonna take the Mavs to win maybe a tight series, maybe game 6, maybe game 7. But I do expect Luka to play this series, and I think they got a shot.
All right, you know what? You're right, and I did overlook that situation. Donovan Mitchell and Gobert are not really tight with each other. And you know what? Like you said, they might blow this thing up. And they might just say, you know what? Because they have no opportunity to win. I mean, they had, the number 1 seed last year? Was they the number 1 seed last year?
Yeah,
number 2 seed last year. And they couldn't beat the Clippers, And we see what the Clippers did. All right, the next series is Memphis and Minnesota. Minnesota pulled out a victory today, and I can't believe it. But Ja Morant it's just amazing with that dunk that he made. But what do you think, Dante? Who do you like in this series?
I think Memphis will eventually win, but I do think that this Minnesota team, they're a very interesting basketball team. They don't play well all the time, but when they get everybody rolling, they're a very tough basketball team to beat. You know of Karl Anthony Towns, you know of Anthony Edwards, and of course, you know of that crazy guy Patrick Beverly. But D'Lo is a very good basketball player. He didn't play awfully well today, and they won by a lot. So Memphis, I think they can win, but I'm telling you right now, I would not be surprised if the Timberwolves win this series. Because, like I said, they got a lot of good basketball players on this team that people aren't thinking of. And if they're all hitting, it's gonna be real trouble for the Grizzlies.
I think they said that Edwards is the 5th player in his debut to score 30 points or so.
At 20 years of age.
Under 20, yeah, somewhere around that. What is it? Under 20?
Yeah.
Yeah. Or how old is he?
I think he's 20.
He's 20. Okay. But yeah, they look, I think what it is a momentum thing for them. They had the momentum when they beat the Clippers and they sent their ass home. Remember that? Sent their ass home. And I can say that on my podcast because I don't have to pay a fine. Did you hear about that, guys? He had to pay that $50,000 fine for for the egregious use of profanity. Oh, come on. He didn't say anything. He just said, send their ass home. That's all he said.
Crazy.
And I don't understand that. But, yeah, they are dangerous. Minnesota looks dangerous. And this is the first time I can say that we actually can say we are watching Minnesota play good basketball. This is the first time in a long time that you've seen them in the playoffs, And just like another team that you haven't seen in the playoffs, but they look good, is the New Orleans Pelicans. They got to play up against Phoenix, the number 1 seed. Zion hasn't played, but, another former Laker has done it, Brandon Ingram.
And C.J. McCollum was a good
C.J. McCollum was a great addition to them. So, I got to give it up. But Phoenix might be a little bit too much for them. So, I think Phoenix is going to, move on in this one. What do you think, Dante? You got Phoenix or New Orleans?
I think Phoenix sweeps them.
Yeah. Well,
I think they sweep, and I don't like to try to make predictions because it's really tough because basketball is a game of streaks, things like that. But I think Phoenix is going to sweep them. I think Phoenix is going to they're on a mission this year. I think they're serious about it this year. So.
All right. What do you think, Caden? Who do you like?
Phoenix, because they're on a good streak, and then they're the number 1 seed, and they got momentum. I feel like the Western Conference is up for grabs. Like anybody can go to the finals. So, and the Pelicans really don't have an identity to them. So let me go Suns.
Yeah. Well, like I said, Brandon Ingram is. He's just, I just still don't understand why they got rid of him. The Lakers got rid of him. I'm not even going to go into Laker talk because I'm just too upset with them and what they did.
Glad the season's over, baby.
Yeah. Well, what did Stu Lance say? SOSDD. Same old shit, different day, right? Yeah. So, all right, let's go over to the Eastern Conference. Philadelphia and Toronto. We all know that Caden Guru's got something to say. Go ahead, Caden.
All right. I don't think it's going to be a sweep. I think they're going to take one game. We're gonna beat them in 5, and then we're gonna have problems in the second round. But right now, I'm gonna just celebrate our win and keep this playoff momentum going.
Oh.
So Sixers in 5.
Oh. All right, Sixers in 5. What do you think, Dante?
Well, I think this is going to be very interesting because we know that there's one 76er player that cannot get into the country of Canada. We know there's one. So we don't know if there's any others, and it doesn't sound like there's any others, but we know there's one, and he is a very significant player. They had no problems today in Philadelphia. Congrats. But Thibault can't get into Canada. So there's look. This is a Toronto team where they have a lot of guys that were on that team that won that championship. I'm not going to count them out. I think the 76ers got it though. If there is another player that can't get in Toronto, that's going to be much more interesting than the series itself. Because again, I think everyone's rooting for the 76ers because no one wants to have to deal with this problem of we can't get to Canada. But I do think the 76ers will win the series. I do think they'll have some troubles, especially if they have to play close games where they don't have a guy like Thibault, who's a fantastic defender in Toronto. But I do think that they're just a much better team.
Yeah, I think I got to give it to them, But the only question mark I have is the bearded one. Is he going to play? I mean, this is the time of the year where he just takes off in the playoffs, and one man can't handle the whole load. Embiid, right? The so-called MVP. So
Katie Guru said Tyrese Maxey is the guy, man.
Yeah, that's going to be he's going to be the deciding factor, honestly, for this team. And yeah. I feel like when people look at James Harden's playoff career, I mean, his worst games came against the greatest team in NBA history. So you can't really overlook that. I mean, people have bad games, but if he's gonna consistently shoot if his percentage in shots are looking like tour dates, then nah.
And my thing is that I'm just, I think you guys might win this series, okay. But what happens if you have to play a tougher team like, Boston or Milwaukee, and you guys, and Harden thinks that he can't, he does the same thing, and he, dribbles around and shoots and misses all the time. So, what's the answer for that?
We take it one game at a time. Like Tyrese Maxey said, we get better 1% every day. So
Okay. All right. Well, you heard it from Caden Guru, the 76er in here. So, okay, we'll go with that. Okay, Minnesota. I'm sorry, Miami. You got me thinking about Minnesota, Miami, and Atlanta. You know what? I think Atlanta can win this series. I like Atlanta. The villain is back, and you know what? They had a chance to eliminate the villain, but he's back. I like Trae Young. What do you think, Dante?
I'm mad because I wanted to mix it up and be like, I think that the Hawks are going to make the upset. Trae Young is a monster. He is a fantastic basketball player. When you think about, people always talk about that trade between him and Luka. Think about it for a second. Those two guys are on the same level, man. They're two strong, talented players. They're leaders of their team. They're both in the playoffs. I think really, 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 they have a shot to win this. Not to say that Miami isn't a good team. They're first in the East somehow, right?
Yeah.
Trae Young can take over a game. I think if you go back and look at that second half he had that playing game, he took over. Literally, that second half was his half. And if he has games like this, it's going to be very hard. Because, again, you look at that team, that Heat team, they're a very solid basketball team, but they don't have a guy that can do what Trae Young can do. They got Jimmy Butler. He's a fantastic defender, scorer, but he can't do what Trae Young did. And I'm really interested in seeing if they can get Collins back, if they can get Capella healthy, I think they have a shot.
Yeah, I think so too. But Miami slid under the radar and became the number one seed. So I just it could have been Boston too. We talk about them. Boston plays Brooklyn. I'm gonna take Brooklyn. I'm a Nets fan, so I'm not gonna. I like the Nets and I like the Lakers. Those are my two teams. But I just look at it this way. I think that with a healthy Kyrie, and hopefully he can keep his thoughts of the flat world to himself, and KD is able to do what he can do. I think this team can beat Boston. I don't think that Boston is going to have. They're going to have a problem when KD gets hot. What happens if KD and the Kyrie have one game each where they scoring 50 or 60 points? What do you think, Caden, on Boston and Brooklyn?
It can go either way, but I feel like it's going to be a team game, like with Brooklyn. If they can get like some of their other role players going, like Harris, I don't even know who's on that bench. Like Bruce Brown.
Yeah.
They can get their guys going. Yeah, Claxton. Yeah. I feel like that would be the deciding factor. And I feel like they can beat them.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, how about you, Dante? Who you like in that series?
I got the Nets. I think it'll be a solid series. I think these teams are kind of evenly matched. But I'll tell you one thing. If Ben 10 makes his appearance, I'm telling you right now, if Ben 10 comes back this series, the Nets are going to win it in 5. But I think if he doesn't come back, I think it'll be maybe a 6-game, 7-game series. Excuse me. I think it'll be a 6-7 game series. But I think if Ben 10, the new and improved Ben 10 comes back, I think that there's going to be too much to handle for the Celtics.
All right, when we was in the break, you was talking about his back there is something really wrong with his back, and I thought he can get out there and it's just a mental thing. What happens if they have to play against Philadelphia? But there is something really wrong with this dude's back, and like you said, if he can get back.
Yeah, and it's easy to pound on a player because he didn't want to play in Philadelphia. We know that. But again, you look at Michael Porter Jr. in his back issues, and he's been out almost all season. And he's had a history of back issues going back to when he was in college.
Yeah.
So I don't know exactly what's going on with Ben Simmons' back. He said he has a herniated disc, and if he does, it would make sense that he couldn't play. Again, maybe he had ramped it up and then it flared up. I don't know. But if he has a back issue, it's really hard for him to play. But I don't think he's just not playing because he doesn't want to play or anything like that. I don't think that's the problem. There might be some other mental issues there, but I think it might be a serious, legitimate injury that they're trying to ramp him up. Again, he's not going to come in and just jog around the court. He's going to have to play really hard, serious minutes. And if the back's not 100%, they want to make sure that they're putting him in the best position. Because again, we're not going to sacrifice 2 to 3 years for 2 to 3 games. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Just guard the paint while you're guarding him. Just guard the restricted area.
Oh gosh, I don't know. I feel like if he can get back on the playing part, he should be okay. I mean, the mental stuff and the whatever issues he had to go through, I think he can get back. Okay, the last series is Chicago and Milwaukee. Chicago's banged up. To me, I think that, Milwaukee is still Milwaukee, the world champs, and they get that credit. So, I don't know. They might take them in 6. So, I'm not sure. What do you guys think? Gator?
I feel like we should not count out Milwaukee. They're gonna have another run. The East is pretty strong, but just looking at the Bulls have depth, but they're just banged up right now. And I feel like the Bulls would have a good run if they weren't versing Milwaukee.
Yeah. I like, to tell you the truth, I really like DeMar DeRozan. I just wish that he could have came home. But Dante, who do you like in that series?
Milwaukee's going to sweep them, and then Milwaukee's going to go on their death tour. They're going to beat everybody. I'm telling you, that guy Giannis, he's a monster. He's one of the best players ever. I didn't say in the league. He's one of the best players ever.
Wow.
He's already building a top 10 resume, and he's like, what? He's 26 already.
27, yeah. But yeah, I think he's. Everyone's talking about a lot of names, things like that. Let me tell you something. This guy Giannis, he's going to do his thing, and this starts with this series. This Bull team is a good defensive team. They are banged up, but they're a good defensive team, and Giannis he's going to go on a rampage. That team is very good. I think that they're going to sweep the Bulls. I'm not saying they're going to win. I think they're going to sweep the Bulls, just like I said with the Suns. I think this Milwaukee team is strong. They're very good, and they are on a mission to prove that they are a full championship team.
Yeah. Well, it's weird because Milwaukee should have been the number 1 seed. And, Miami's the number 1 seed. But you know what? I think that might be a false narrative of what Miami did this year. But like you said, this Milwaukee team can win the championship again. They can go back to back.
I feel like we're underrating Milwaukee and their talents. And I feel like if the MVP award is not going to Embiid or Jokic, I feel like Giannis should win it because the stuff he's done, he hasn't declined at all in his game. I feel like just because the voters get voter fatigue on who they vote for doesn't mean that he shouldn't win an MVP.
Yeah, I agree with that.
Yeah, but what do you guys think of when they say MVP? What is your theory on MVP?
I think it's the value that player brought to their team and the chemistry around their team and in the regular season.
What do you think, Dante?
It's hard. This is the MVP in basketball is one of the hardest things to decipher because it feels every single year, the criteria to be MVP. So, and I don't want to go on a history speech, but if you go back to when the year that Nash won.
Yep, I knew it.
Kobe.
Yep.
What he did. But there was another guy, LeBron. LeBron had a crazy year that year. Honestly, if you go back and look at LeBron's stats, every single year you're trying to figure out how he's not the MVP based off his stats. You look at Kobe's years, he has some years where you're like, how is he not the MVP? So again, it just changes from year to year. You had the year that Westbrook won because he averaged a triple-double, and the team was the 8th seed. They were the 8th seed in the West, and he won MVP. I think this year, there's two guys that are having some crazy number of years. That's Jokic and that's Embiid.
Mm-hmm.
Neither one of them should win MVP. I think they should give it to Devin Booker. Simply because the Suns have been one of the best. They have been pretty much the best team in the West for the last 2 years. And at some point, you have to say, okay, we can't keep ignoring this team. We have to, and they have a good basketball team, but Devin Booker is hand and above the best player on the team. If he doesn't play, the team is a much different team than when he does play. If they give it to Embiid, it makes sense. If they give it to Jokic, it makes sense. I can't argue the stats on either one of them. But I think this year they should just go back to the criteria of best player on best team. Because again, we get these years where again Embiid's the 4th seed, I believe, in the East. Jokic is the 6th seed in the West. You're having these guys play on subpar teams. They're not the best team. And you have a guy who's played his behind off. He's averaging the points. He's averaging the rebounds. He's doing everything you ask him to do, and he doesn't get any recognition for it. So I think that they should buck the system, and they should give it to Devin Booker.
Yeah, I agree.
I don't think so, but they should.
If that happens, then that's 3 Suns players in history that really shouldn't have won MVP. I mean,
You said shouldn't or should have?
shouldn't, because you look at '93, Charles Barkley, that should have went to MJ. You look at Nash's MVPs, you could argue Kobe, LeBron, and then this year, I mean, the MVP, like when it originally first was created, the players voted on who won. That's why you have some ridiculous seasons like '62. You have Oscar Robertson, you have Elgin Baylor, you have Wilt's historic 48.5 minutes per season game where he averaged 50 points. That he didn't win because Bill Russell won because he was the best. He was the best player on the best team, and I feel like that criteria still somewhat is in value today because the best team, you're the best player on the best team and you're on top of the league. But I feel like it shouldn't be just that. I feel like it should be more of how much your team, how much you impacted your team.
Yeah.
And let me you know what, you made some fantastic points about the old days and how that happened and how it happens now. You made a fantastic point about Barkley in '93 and the Kobe year, the Nash year when Kobe didn't win. But there's another, let's just talk about it for a second. We didn't even mention a guy in Giannis who every year is going to average almost 30 points a game, almost 10 rebounds a game, and average almost 5 or 6 assists a game. And we didn't even mention the fact that he should win MVP.
Mm-hmm.
So again, we have these guys, and I'm not sitting there, I'm not going to argue the facts that you brought, Kaden. You made some very great points. But it's when there's Jokic is going to have a great year every year for the next 3 years, 4 years, however long his prime is. Giannis is going to have crazy years every year. Embiid is in his prime; he's going to have crazy years. How do you decipher between those 3 who's more valuable? Because if you ask me right now, who's the best player in the NBA, I say Giannis. Who's the most valuable player in the NBA? I say Giannis. But I didn't even mention him being the MVP because I feel as though what Jokic is doing and what Embiid is doing is a little bit different. And I also feel like Devin Booker should get some because he's the best player on the best team.
Yeah.
And it's not like they're way better than everyone. They didn't have the 3 all-stars. They didn't have all that stuff. They just have a very solid team that complement each other and play great basketball. But we don't talk about Devin Booker at all.
Yeah. Well,
But every year, Giannis could be the MVP.
Yeah.
Every year, Jokic could be the MVP. So when do you make it? When do you make it real? Because Giannis is the 3 seed, Embiid is the 4 seed, Jokic is the 6 seed. When do you draw the line and say, okay, this guy he's been the number 1 seed in a very tough conference for 2 years. He should get a vote.
Yeah.
When does it happen?
Well, another thing too is that, remember when Russell Westbrook won the MVP, he averaged a triple-double, right? Now, I think they're probably going to give it to Jokovic this year because he did something they said that no other player has ever done.
Right.
2,000 points, 1,000 rebounds, and 500 assists.
Never happened.
Now, I'm trying to think. All the players, Wilt, Elgin Baylor, Kobe, LeBron.
Kevin Garnett never did that.
Michael Jordan, Kevin Garnett, Kevin Durant. All these guys haven't done this before? I don't understand. I mean, it's like, who didn't... Wilt and Bill Russell never did this. I mean, who... that's why I think that they're going to give it to this guy because of the historical value of what he did. It's never been done before.
That's why I think like the MVP has some context around it. If you have a historical season like 2017 Westbrook or 2022 Jokic, then they're going to give you like the credit you deserve because of that historical value that has never, like, you're setting history in the NBA that's never been seen before.
Yeah.
That's gonna change like the criteria of the MVP from the best, like who gets it from the best team and like, but I feel like voting fatigue has made us underlook like Giannis like a lot because of what he's done. Like,
and Curry, if he wouldn't have missed a lot of games, he would have been probably in the MVP conversation.
Hey, let's talk about it. LeBron was having a crazy year again too.
Yeah, but see, now they could say, okay, well, he had no other choice because they had a bad team.
Yeah, but again, that's because, and then you can make the argument, well, if the second best player on the team didn't play half the year. He played 40 games out of 42. The other player is horrible. He has literally had arguably the worst year of his NBA career in Westbrook.
Yeah.
But LeBron had a crazy year. He would have been the NBA scoring champion if he had qualified.
Yeah. So like you guys say, there's all different criteria and points. It's so weird because it's like, how did we get to the point where, like you said, we're not giving Devin Booker the MVP because he's the best player on the best team, and we're looking at a guy that's a 4th seed. And we're looking at a guy that's a 6th seed. It doesn't make any sense to where, why don't we go back to where the best player on the best team wins the MVP? But then again, I'm gonna throw this out for you. Back in 1972, Steve Carlton was the best pitcher in baseball on a losing team. He ended up winning the Cy Young Award. 27-3 or something, like 27-9 or something like that. But I don't know. It's just so weird about the way they judge an MVP. It's so weird. So
it comes down to the voters, honestly. I mean, I feel like if the players voted for like the MVP, like let's put the 1960 criteria in today's criteria.
Yeah.
You vote for who you think the best player is in the league, without voting for yourself or a teammate. I feel like that would be more credible and more credible than like some of these reporters with like and how like they view, because the reporters are based like on like they're based on so much more than just MVP. They're based on like players' contracts. They're based on like they have so much value in this sport that like that gets unrecognized.
Yeah.
That's another fantastic point. These guys have escalators in their contracts that says if this guy makes all NBA, he gets $750,000. Something, I'm just making it up. Right?
Mm-hmm.
So again, you're correct. These guys have contract things, and these people know this, and this is the problem. This is a huge problem, and I really hope that we can have a better system moving forward. I really do hope that we can have a better system moving forward, because again, I do not disagree with how great Jokic is. I don't disagree with how good Giannis is. I don't disagree about him being, but at the end of the day, it needs to be much more favorable. Because a guy like Devin Booker, he might not get one first place vote.
Nope, not at all.
No.
And Booker's been great. I mean, he had a great year, and that it doesn't make any sense. Okay, well, you guys made great points on that, and like I said, we're gonna take a break right here, but we're gonna talk. We're going to go to the segment called Talking All That Jazz. But I want to tell you guys that I do want to make sure that I do have a new segment or a new thing called the Bad Joke of the Week. So if you guys have a bad joke, you can tell it or whatever. But that's going to come a little bit later. We're going to we're definitely going to have to, do taps and everything. So, all right. So we're going to take a break right here, but great discussion on the MVP and how the MVP voting should be. You guys are awesome on that, and I thank you. We're going to take a break right here. This is the Guru Talking Sports Podcast, episode 109. We'll be right back in just a moment. Okay, folks, we're back. This is the Guru Talking Sports Podcast, episode 109. We had a great discussion with Caden Guru and Dante Guru on the MVP and the NBA playoffs, which is really good. The NHL playoffs should be starting pretty soon. And like I said, I'm definitely going to try to get my man Jeff Duarte on here. And I'm going to definitely bring in Miss Jody Martin. She knows a lot about hockey, and she loves her LA Kings. We're going to talk probably Kings hockey when they get here. But I just wanted to say that, we really, really appreciate everyone that comes on here. I do. I really do. Last week I had, Dave May Jr. We talked baseball and everything. This week we're talking a lot of basketball. All right, but what I'm going to do now is that I'm just going to talk it through. And this segment is called Talking All That Jazz. Now, last week we started with three guys that I talked about, which were, really, really good guys, important guys. And Miles Davis was the the feature guy that I talked about. This week I got three guys: Sonny Rollins, Dexter Gordon, and John Coltrane. John Coltrane is going to be my feature guy. A lot of good stuff from him. Okay, what I want to mention is Sonny Rollins. Sonny Rollins is still alive. He was born September 7th, 1930. His name is William Theodore Sonny Rollins. Now, he was influenced by Lewis Gordon, Ben Webster, Don Byas, Charlie Parker, and Thelonious Monk. He has 6 honorary Doctor of Music awards from various colleges. His main album was called Saxophone Colossus, which featured 3 songs that are probably one of the most famous songs of all times. St. Thomas, Strode Road, and Morita. His active years was from 1947 all the way up until 2014. Like I said, Sonny Rollins is a really, really good, great guy, and I've listened to a lot of his stuff. One of my favorites. He's influenced by Louis Jordan, Ben Webster, Don Byas, Charlie Parker, and Thelonious Monk. And now listen to this. He was a sideman to Miles Davis, Kenny Dorham, Art Farmer, Dizzy Gillespie, Mac Roach, Bud Powell, the Rolling Stones, and McCoy Tyner and Ron Carter. Now, if you remember the song by the Rolling Stones, Tattoo You, he was played a couple songs on that album, Tattoo You. Okay, so we got Sonny Rollins in here. Now, Dexter Gordon he was called the Sophisticated Giant and Long Tall Dexter. Dexter Gordon was actually a great musician, and he was also an actor. He was actually nominated for an Academy Award in 1986 for the movie Around Midnight. Known for jazz, swing, bebop, hard bop, his active years was from 1940 up until 1986. Dexter Gordon was 65 years old when he passed away. He's a native of Los Angeles, California. He played tenor saxophone, and soprano saxophone as well. Okay. His influences was Dizzy Gillespie, Billy Erskine, and Lionel Hampton. 14 years in Europe he spent in Paris and Copenhagen in the 40s and in the 50s. And in 2018, his album Go, a Blue Note special from 1962, was selected and entered in the Library of Congress. His most famous songs was Ernie's Tune, Soy Calfia, Cheesecake, and 3 o'clock in the morning. Dexter Gordon was a great, great saxophone player, and, we truly miss him. He was a giant as well. Now, the featured guy I wanted to talk about this week was John William Coltrane. John Coltrane, 1926 to 1965. He was only 40 years old. He's a native of Hamlet, North Carolina. And he was actually one of the greatest of all time. If you had to put a Mount Rushmore up there, Miles Davis and John Coltrane would be two of the four that I put on that Mount Rushmore. Now, his genres was hard bop, modal jazz, free jazz, and avant-garde jazz as well. His active years was from 1945 to 1967. He played tenor, alto, soprano saxophone, the flute, and the bass clarinet. Wow. Now listen to this. In 1957, he had something that was called a spiritual awakening. And he started making some really, really good music after 1957. His most famous, one of the most famous jazz albums of all time is called A Love Supreme. And if you heard the little bit of what I gave you earlier in the program, when I first started out, that song, Resolution, comes from A Love Supreme. A Love Supreme is probably one of the most famous jazz albums of all time, including some of the songs that are my favorite things, In a Sentimental Move and Giant Steps. Now listen to this. Here's some of the albums that he made that were very, very famous and still are probably one of the most listened to. I mean, he has stuff like Blue Train, Soul Train, 1958, 1960, Giant Steps, 1961, My Favorite Things, 61 also, Ole Coltrane, 62, Coltrane. He made a duet album with Duke Ellington in 1963. Impressions was probably one of my favorites because what Impressions is basically he had like a lot of cuts on there from like Mars, Jupiter, and Saturn. Those are some of the songs that are on there, and they basically, if you ever listen to them, they sound a little bit alike, but they're really, really deep and very, very spiritual. Live at the Birdland in 1964, A Love Supreme, which is a classic, and probably, like I said, one of the most famous jazz albums of all time, 1965. 1966, he made Live at the Village Vanguard, Ascension, 1966, and Expressions was his last album in 1967. John Coltrane is probably the biggest giant in the world of jazz. Now, I'm going to give you 3 more next week, but like I said, these guys that I talk about in jazz are awesome, and they basically are all world guys. So I want you guys to know that I really, really appreciate you guys coming in here and talking. And the last thing that we're going to talk about, well, we're going to have to talk about is taps. And right now, I'm getting my taps bugle. Where's my taps bugle? Should be coming up pretty soon. Here it is. I'm sorry, guys. I didn't mean to hold you up, but here's my taps bugle. We gotta say goodbye to Mike Bossy. He passed away a couple days ago, 65, and he was on one of the greatest hockey teams of all time, the New York Islanders, that won the 4 straight Stanley Cups in the 80s. Mike Bossy was 65 years old. Gilbert Gottfried was the voice of the Aflac Duck, and very, very, very funny comedian. And he was known as one of the weirdest voices in American comedy. But he passed away earlier this week, and we have to say goodbye to him as well. Okay, guys, that is it for the program, for the podcast. I want to say I am really, really thankful for both of you guys joining me. And before, what I'm going to do is I'm going to give I'm going to wrap it up and give you guys the credentials here. And then next thing you know, I'm going to let you guys say a few words in closing. Okay, like I said, you guys can follow us on YouTube, The Guru Sports Show, Facebook on Guru's Daily Shorts. Instagram is called Guru Talkin Sports _podcast on Instagram. Gmail me at gurusdailyshorts@gmail.com. You can find us everywhere on the podcast outlets. Big props to my friend Mary Mack, the Mary Mack Show on Grief. Check out her website, and she's got a lot of good stuff on her website. It's called Grief Authority. Check it out. My man Jeff Duarte, appreciate you. Cali Sports News, appreciate my cousin the young GM, my man Curtis, appreciate you. The Hip Hop Brothers, appreciate you. My man Dave May Jr., thank you for the podcast last week that we did on last Sunday morning. It dropped on Wednesday because we wanted to make sure that we didn't get the last episode running into the other episode. So I want to say thank you for that. The D Alien Illuminati's, all my DA brothers and sisters, I appreciate you. Appreciate you. Caden Guru is back here, executive producer and board op. Ray Guru is not here, but we appreciate him, technical advisor and musical engineer. Dante Guru, we appreciate you. Backup co-host, show advisor, and he's always dropping in, and we appreciate it, always. Cousin Aaron, we'll see him pretty soon. In a couple weeks, we're going to have the draft program. Like, the draft starts on the 28th, and we're definitely going to be talking about that probably next week, a little bit next week, and we're going to talk about it definitely on the 30th when the draft starts on the 28th. We'll have, the first and second rounds in, and we'll talk about that as well. My motto and saying is this. This has been a Black Goat production for Black Goat Entertainment. All rights reserved. Copyright 2022. We don't hate. We congratulate. We always create. We don't steal from nobody. We always give people credit where credit is due. Use the hashtag Guru Talking Sports. Use the hashtag Brick Props. We appreciate it. Now, I want to give a couple shout outs to my friends. Kate, appreciate you. Charlie, Chris, Denise Hyde, all my peeps on Twitter. Appreciate you guys. Bella B, Jeff in Southland, Rick in Buffalo. Appreciate you. All my D-Aliens, brothers and sisters, I appreciate you guys too. Remember to call the show if you want. Did I forget the bad joke? But anyway, I'll tell that later. 302-468-7239, 302-468-7239. That is it. We'll do the bad joke next week. Katie Guru, you got anything to add and say in closing?
Happy Resurrection Day, and go watch some basketball.
And think about how the Philadelphia 76ers are going to get out of the second round.
Maybe, but that's for a different podcast.
All right, Dante, you got anything to add or say any shout outs to anybody?
Just thanks again for having me on, Guru. I always appreciate you letting me come in and talk. Definitely big shout out to you, and go Raiders. Hopefully we will win the Super Bowl this year, or I'm going to be very upset.
Yeah, I hope so too. I just as long as Philadelphia don't win it, I'm okay. The Eagles. Nah, I'm just teasing. Nah, I really appreciate. I love you guys. I love you guys, and I want to say that, anytime that I can have my two favorite guys on, I really appreciate it. It's a blessing. Like I said, we're going to get Jody and Jeff Duarte in here pretty soon. They actually, both of them had things that they had to do for Easter, and we appreciate you guys. But I want to say that, like I said, the bad joke of the week, I'm gonna start telling that next week probably when I can. Caden knows the first one, so I'm not gonna tax him into talking about it. But I want you guys to know, have a great Easter, be safe. Like Caden said, Happy Resurrection Day. It's actually Sunday now, so we'll Happy Easter. Guys, take care. We'll see you pretty soon. The Guru and Caden Guru, Dante Guru, and Cousin Aaron, and Ray Guru, will see you real soon. Take care. Thank you for listening, and enjoy the podcast. Enjoy the rest of your sports weekend, and we will see you soon. Later.